Okay. We are being recorded. Thank you all so much for being here live tonight. It's really nice to see everybody. The intention of this webinar is just to carve out a little bit of time to think about the fall and how you want it to go for your practice and also just for yourself. So let's get started. For folks who are just joining us right now, I was reminding people to have something to write on, either the little booklet that I sent you earlier or just a piece of paper, a Google Doc, anything like that, so you can jot down some notes. A lot of people like to get started during this session and then circle back later and fill in some more information. So just so you know, this is a webinar, which means other people can't see you. So there's nothing that you can do to turn on your video accidentally. You are muted automatically. You can't unmute yourself. So you don't need to worry about, accidentally coming off mute or anything like that. If the chat is open, a lot of times people like to sort of do internal work during this time. But if you have anything you want to put in the chat, please feel free. Or if you are feeling more internal and reflective, you do not need to participate in the chat at all. You can show up however you want for this session. All right, so let us dive in here. I want to start out and just say a few words about why I do seasonal rather than annual planning. And one of the reasons that I do this session 4 times a year is for myself, because this is how I do my planning. I tried for a long time. I tried to do annual planning, and what I found was that by the time this time of year rolled around, it it was all out the door. Nothing was relevant anymore. And so for me, just taking it a few months at a time and really seeing like, okay, what did the last few months bring, and what's coming ahead? It's just easier. It's an easier chunk to understand. So that's what I recommend doing. We are going to stay after just a few minutes after this one, if you're interested to talk about 2025 and things you might want to think about right now for 2025. Not a full big plan the whole year type of thing, but just some things to put, little bugs to put in your ear. That's a really weird phrase, isn't it? But just some things to think about as we head into the last few months of this year, um, to plan ahead for that year. So you can stay on after if you'd like for that. So, as we get started, if you are able to do so, put your feet on the ground or at least ground into wherever you are. Roll your shoulders back a little bit. Take a few deep breaths. And let's just spend this time letting go of the rest of the day. You can close out any other tabs that are open and just be present here for this few minutes. Okay. So, before we start thinking about the fall and actually reflecting on the summer, take just a few moments and think about why you're in practice. Okay. Reconnect with why you are doing this work. For a lot of us, it's because we've had a healing experience ourselves and we want to share it with other people. But there may be other reasons that you're doing this work. So just think for a moment. It's helpful to jot it down, even just a few words. But if you just want to think about it, remember it, amazing. The other thing I want you to reconnect with is how you want to show up to do this work. So I think about this as the way that you describe yourself in this work. So for me, I want to show up as clear, as authentic, that sort of thing. So again, just take a minute, jot down a few things, or just think about this. Okay, welcome, folks who are just joining us. We're just getting grounded, reconnecting with what we're doing. Okay. So, next, it's time for seasonal review. Before we start jumping into the fall, which is, I think, what most of us are tempted to do, myself included, it's really, really helpful to spend a few moments thinking about the summer and how things went in the summer. So what do I mean by how things went? I'm not talking about like how much money did you make and all that kind of stuff. That is helpful, but also just thinking back on, I have somebody coming to deal with my dog in case you can hear him woofing and woofing over there. But just thinking back on the highlights, what really worked for you, what felt good, what kind of energy you brought in, and that sort of thing. So we're going to review the summer briefly so that we can bring some of that information into our fall. So first things first, let's write down as many things as you can think of that went well over the past 3 months. Now, right now, we don't have time to do 40 or 50, which is what I would like for you to do. But even just three, what are three things that went well for you this summer? And these could be little things like I survived, like my business didn't fold. I got one new client. I made a small update to something, or it can be big things like I started a new program or I filled my practice for the first time or whatever it is. So, what are three things that went really well for you this summer through the lens of your business? If anybody wants to share in the chat, I'd love to hear it. And again, if you're not in the mood to share right now and it feels personal, that is okay too. So I can just share while people are thinking about this. For me, when I think about three things that went well this summer, um, I have finished a draft of my book and gotten a bunch of beta readers to give me feedback on that. So that's one of the things. Another thing that went well for me this summer is been just been doing some admin stuff about like contracts and getting my business structure and set up and all that kind of thing. And then lastly, I've gotten more into a rhythm this summer. So those are my three things. But you think of your three things. Again, they could be teeny little, like I made one update to my website, whatever it is. But I think it's really, really important to tap into just a few things that went well, even if a lot of things didn't go well. What did? Okay, next. This is a quick gut check review of the summer. So we're not talking about everything, just the last, let's say, 3 months, just the last 3 months. I'm gonna read each of these out loud, and you are gonna rate yourself on 1 to 5 stars. 1 star is like, whoo, need a lot of work. This is not under control. 5 stars is this is going really smoothly, nothing to work on. I feel great about it. All right. Um, so let's see here. Number one is the design or the description of the services you offer. So is it clear to people on your website or wherever you share what you offer and which one is right for them if there are multiple choices? Are you pleased with the way that it sounds? Do you think it reflects what you do and why what you do is special? So again, 1 to 5 stars, no need to overthink it, just what comes out. Next thing, providing exceptional care. Are you doing everything you can to make sure that your client's experience is really solid? So this includes things like following up with people after they've seen you and, um, you know, feeling really um, like you have the resources and tools to learn more about what you need to learn about. Do you have all of the, understanding of labs and whatever else it is that you think you need to provide really top tier service for the people that are working with you? Again, 1 to 5, just give yourself a little rating there. Next one, the technology and software that you're using. So, do you understand, are you using to its fullest effect any kind of technology stuff that you're using? So, this includes things like your website and your mailing list software. And if you use an EMR like Practice Better or Healthy or whatever else, are you using that well? Are there things that you need to do to kind of better use whatever technology is involved in your practice? 1 to 5. One is like, oh, it's falling apart. And 5 is no problems, I'm on it. Next is systems. So sometimes people think systems is technology, and that systems may or may not involve technology, but this is just like when a new client comes in the door, is there a system every time I do this? I send them their intake form, they do this, I check that they signed it. You have a smooth system for new clients, for follow up clients, for sending out your content, your email, whatever, that you know what to do and when to do it. Okay. Again, 1 to 5, just give yourself a little rating. Next, we have work-life balance or daily routine. So, are you stopping work at a reasonable time? Do you have time to do things that you want to do that fill you up? such as, be with your family or walk outside, work in the garden, whatever. Are you able to stop work at a reasonable time? Are you able to start work at a reasonable time? Are you spending too little time on your practice because you're putting everything off and you're procrastinating? Or are you spending way too much time on your practice to the point where it's not healthy or not productive for you? 1 to 5, 1 is not so great. 5 is like no problems. Physical space is the next one. So we all work somewhere. Maybe it's your kitchen table. Maybe you have a desk. Maybe you have an office. But wherever you work, is that set up in a way that is comfortable for you, both on a kind of spiritual, emotional level, but physically? Like, is your desk chair comfortable, or is your computer set up so that it doesn't hurt your hands or your eyes or your back or whatever? Like, are you sitting or standing or doing whatever you're doing in a way that is healthy for you? I know. Would it be nice to clear off your desk? Would it be nice to have a plant? Is it organized? Can you find the files when you need the files and the stapler and whatever else? Maybe you need a new printer or you got to order ink for your printer, whatever it is. So physical space. Next one is connecting with and finding new clients. How's that going? You're getting tons of new clients or lots of inquiries. That's going smoothly. That's a 5. If you're like, ha ha ha, no clients, maybe that's closer to a 1 or a 2. Community support. Do you have people that will help you when you are stuck? Whether that's stuck with the case, stuck with why do I have no clients, stuck with marketing, whatever it is, websites, anything you need help with, do you have the support that you need emotionally, as well as just literally doing the things that you're supposed to be doing? 1 to 5. And then lastly, cash flow. So, how's the money piece of things going? Are you able to um, bring in the amount of money that you think is reasonable for where you are in your practice right now? 1 to 5. Just give yourself a little rating. Now, we're not going to overthink any of these, but what I want you to do is just look at your numbers. Some of them you might be like, haha, I've got like all 2s or something. Some of you may have more of a spread. You are where you are. There's nothing wrong with being wherever you are in your practice. But what I want you to do is circle 3 of them that seem like they're calling to you right now. Maybe because they're your lowest 3, maybe because you're just interested in improving in 3 of them. But just really think, what are 3 that are bubbling up to you right now as potentially needing a little bit of attention as we head into the fall? Okay. So top 3 where you could use change or support. And you can star them or circle them, whatever you want to do of those ones that we listed before. Or if something else came up for you, feel free to go rogue. All right. So we've thought about the summer. We've thought about what went really well for the summer. And we've thought about here's what's working and what's not working as well in our practices over the summer. And you know what? Summer is a weird time. Summer's slow for a lot of reasons. And it's just a weird economy right now. So never fear. Fall is not the same as summer. There could be a lot of new energy heading into the fall. So let's think about fall and what's going on with fall. First question for you is, what energy does fall bring to you in your practice? So I want you to jot down what you know about fall and you. So this might include, maybe you have a birthday in the fall, or you have a family member or a friend's birthday. Maybe you have trips planned. Maybe you get terrible seasonal allergies and fall is just your worst time mentally. Maybe you love the fall. Maybe you like to spend time outside and you hardly want to work in the fall. Maybe you know that fall is always really busy in your practice or always really slow. But just jot down anything that you know that to be true for yourself or your practice about the fall. Just going to give you a moment to jot down those things. Okay. So for me, some of the things I jotted down are that I just have a lot of things going on in October. So I know that I need to be really thoughtful about not overscheduling in October because I'm going to the American Herbalist Guild conference. We have a family trip to South Dakota planned. And I have guests from out of town coming to visit after that. So it's a really busy month. I need to know that when I'm thinking about my fall so that I can be reasonable when I'm looking at how I want to plan things. So maybe some of the same things are coming up for you that are good to be aware of. All right, so with all of that in mind, with the ideas of what fall typically brings for you or your practice, with the thoughts from this summer about, hmm, here's some areas that felt like they might need a little bit of support. Let's pick one thing for the fall to have as your big picture intention. I'm not saying this is the only thing you're going to do this fall, but what is the theme? I like to think about it like that. What is the theme of the fall that you want to, um, the thread that you want to run through the next several months? So I'm going to give you some examples here on this slide. So maybe your theme for this fall is learning about something. So maybe you're wanting to learn more about immune activation and seasonal allergies to support your clients or yourself. Or maybe you want to learn more about how to run Facebook ads or whatever. There's something you're going to finally figure out your email system, something like that. Maybe it has more to do with mentoring and support, and you're realizing you feel really isolated. And this is a time for you to find a mentor or find an accountability group or something like that, that you're going to be, in community with more practitioners, either, or more business owners in your community. Maybe it's about not working so much. Maybe it's about your health is your priority for this fall and managing your business while also saying, I'm not going to overdo it. I'm going to recover. I'm not going to burn out. I'm going to stop working at a reasonable time, whatever it is. Maybe it's a specific system that's been driving you up the wall. So you need to get your intake process smoothed out so that you're not losing track of people. Maybe it's you got to switch over to a new email software or get your whole email set up or whatever it is. Maybe there's something like that that's going to take you a while that you want that to be your theme. Maybe it has to do with clients. Maybe you're like, yeah, I just don't have enough clients. So the theme is going to be how do I connect with more clients and kind of work on that part of my practice. Or maybe you're working on a program. Maybe you're revamping your services or part of your web page or website or something like that. Okay. So I want you to just think of one intention. If you're not sure right now, you can just put down some ideas. You don't have to, this is not like you're not signing on any dotted lines right this very second, but just an idea and you can circle back to it, sleep on it for a night or two. Sometimes the right thing will emerge. But it is helpful to just have a few ideas that you're like, oh, this one's kind of scratching me as like a possibility. So I'll tell you that for me, it's been the last several, but it's going to continue. My intention this fall is to continue. I want to get my book kind of ready to go to be sold in early next year. So I'm going to do finishing touches on my book. That's my theme. All right. So then let's think about how do we remember this theme? Because it's one thing to have a theme, but then by next week or by October, you may have forgotten your theme altogether because life is busy and these things happen. So how are we going to remember to weave this into all the normal things that you need to do this fall or that are, coming your way? So let's talk about day to day. And everything that I'm saying here is a suggestion, just some ideas for you to ponder as you go forward. My recommendation is that you do weekly planning and intentions. I find that if you just try to do day to day, you wake up in the morning, you're like, okay, what's on my list today? It's just easy to lose the big picture thread of like, oh, okay, here's, the big things I need to be working on or I want to be working on. So I recommend that you put a time in your schedule every single week. I usually do this on Sundays. I just set aside 30 minutes or so, maybe 15, depending on the week, to sit down, look at what happened last week, look at what's coming up next week, reconnect with my intention and kind of plan out my week loosely. I make a big list of like, here's the things that I want to do this week and just kind of gather my wits about me for the week. I just put that in my calendar as a recurring meeting so that I remember to do it. And I recommend that you have something like that as well so that you can remember what to do. So here's what I do at my weekly, I guess, planning, intention setting time is that I look at my coming week. I don't do this for the whole year or anything. I just look at the next coming week and I say, how many hours this week do I have to work? For me, it varies a lot week to week, depending on what's going on. Some weeks I might have 5 hours. Some weeks I might have like 25 or 30 hours. So I look at those hours for just for the coming week, what's available given, kids and doctor's appointments and traveling and, whatever's going on. And then I say, okay, there's 3 buckets that relate to my work. And for most of you who are in practice, it's going to be true for you too. There's direct work with clients, there's your marketing stuff, and then there's the admin, like, websites and invoicing and all that kind of stuff that doesn't really bring you new clients, but you have to do it to keep the wheels on the bus. I recommend that you spend about 50% of your working hours in this working with clients. Okay, so that includes seeing the client and also writing up their notes and emailing them or messaging them or all that kind of stuff. Anything that's directly involving a client is that. So 50% of the time for that, and then you split the remaining 50% between these other 2 things. Um, if you don't have clients, then you spend that client time on the marketing. Okay. That's my recommendation. And so what you can do is just kind of piece that into your week when you look at it and you see, okay, I've got a few hours here, I got 10 hours, 5 hours here and 3 hours here and whatever. Then you just say, like, these are my clinic hours. I'm going to give myself this time to write up my notes. And then this is going to be my admin time, or this is going to be my marketing time. Just pencil it in at the beginning of the week. The biggest things that people run into, and I say this like over and over and over again, in myself as well as others, is people are spending too much time per client. So you're like, I can't possibly fit it in to 50%. Then you got to work in streamlining. Whatever that looks like, you got to do it. Um, People just totally skip the marketing part and spend all their time on admin. They're like, oh, I did 1 hour of marketing and 12 hours of admin this week. Well, that is the reason you don't have more clients, because the admin time, it's great, but it doesn't bring you in clients. You gotta stop that, and start doing more things that involve you talking to other people, like, real people out there. And then, just spending too much time on admin stuff, waiting, 15 hours to get the perfect font on your website or whatever it is. Sometimes it just has to be good enough and not perfect so that you can do the marketing work and also read a book or rest or, go outside, that sort of thing. Um, so in summary, in the weekly planning session, what I recommend you do is write out your seasonal intention, your theme. Like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be spending more time in the garden. That's my theme for this fall. Or, I'm working on my book. So when am I going to work on my book? What am I doing? Then you review the client hours, and then you split out the remaining time into your admin and your marketing. And then, that's what you do. You got yourself a plan. The hard part is just stopping. I do recommend that you do a monthly review. This is when you are really going to look at your money stuff. You're going to kind of gather all of your input about what's working and what's not working. Like, how much money did I make? How much money did I spend? How many new clients did I get? How many follow-up clients came to see me? Did people subscribe to my newsletter or my Instagram or whatever it is that you're tracking? You need to do this once a month at least so that you can tell, is all that time you spent marketing actually working? If it's not, then it's time to do a new plan. You use those marketing hours a little differently. If you do this a few months and you're like, oh, I've been spending 7 hours a week doing this whatever kind of marketing and I don't have any new clients, then it is time for a different marketing plan. Okay. So really don't forget the monthly review, because otherwise you're just going to keep going and going and going and then wake up at the end of the year and be like, oh, wow, that was a lot of a lot of time with something that didn't work. Let me just make a weird glow on my face. Okay. Now, we're gonna wrap up the fall dreaming part, and I want to just spend a few minutes on 2025. Before I do that, just a quick invitation. Some of you, I don't know if I'm looking here. I don't think anybody who's here was at our last one, but we do have a retreat where we do this live. If you want feedback on your plan and you like to just take a little more time with it and marinate a little bit, Bevan and I are doing a live summer dreaming and planning retreat next year in near DC, which you can learn about here if you'd like to. No pressure, of course, but we had a really fun time last year, and it'll be great to see some of you there. The next thing I want to do, like I said, is this is a new thing, but I've been getting some questions about 2025, like how do I think about annual planning in general? So I wanted to add this on just a little, just for a few minutes to this session. If you need to leave, because I know it was originally 30 minutes, no problem. Go right ahead. This is being recorded and there's no hard feelings. You're welcome to leave. But otherwise, I just want to share a few thoughts about how to think about 2025. Okay. Because like I said at the beginning of this session, I do not recommend, in December sitting down and trying to schedule out your whole year and saying like, oh, you know, this is what's going to happen in November and this is what's going to happen in October and whatever else. Because like I said, it just doesn't work. You get to March and you're like, I don't feel like doing that anymore. It doesn't sound fun. Or somebody else just, something happened, it totally interfered with that plan. It's out the window. You're starting over. Why did you spend all that time in December trying to pretend you knew what was going to happen in October? So I don't recommend doing that. But at the same time, I do think it's important to do a little bit of kind of calendar work right about this time of year when it comes to the following year. So I'm just going to walk you through how I think about this. You can do it this way or not do it this way, but in case it's helpful, I wanted to just bring that to this group, just so you know. So what I recommend that you do when you're thinking about the coming year is, first of all, yes to scheduling your time off tentatively. You don't have to know everything right now, but tentatively. Yes to kind of big picture visioning. Yes to thinking about pacing yourself, but you don't really need to plan out an entire program or course. You don't need to get into, Thursday, the 5th of August at 12 p.m., this is what I'm going to be doing. And you don't need to start assigning yourself tasks for August or March or whatever it is. Just really stick to the kind of global level of planning is my recommendation at this time of year. So here's what I do. And I think this is the perfect time of year to do it, because if you wait too much longer, or if you don't do this well in advance, I have experienced this myself, and you may have too. If you do not block off time off, it doesn't happen, especially when you work for yourself. You just roll right through it, and then you get to the end of the year or a few months, and you're like, wow, I haven't taken a day off in I can't remember. Like, it's been so long, I just don't even know. So what I want you to do either right now or in the next couple of weeks is look at 2025, whatever calendar system you use. I actually use a Google Calendar for this type of thing, but go through and look, is there anything coming up where you're like, oh, my kids have spring break that week, or it's a federal holiday this day and my partner gets the day off, so that's a good week for us to go away. Or, this is my 40th birthday and I want to take some time off, or I just randomly want to go somewhere or stay home. But block out at least 2 full weeks during the year that you are not working. You don't have to take them. You could change them later if you're like, "Oh, I got a great ticket somewhere else," or, whatever. But really just put it in there, go on a retreat, time off, whatever it is, at least 2 weeks. My preference in an ideal world, if we all had, no financial restrictions and anything like that, I would love to see everybody blocking off a full week of every season where you're just not working. Like, you're not scheduling clients, you're not scheduling meetings. Maybe you're doing a light thing, but anyway. Just block it off right now so that when somebody asks you, can you do this? There is something on your calendar and it says, I'm not working that week. So you just don't schedule it. It's way easier to take time off if you just didn't schedule anything in that block in the first place. So start with that, at least 2 big chunks of time per year that you are not working. And if you can, 1 full week every season. Just block it off. If you wind up really, really, really wanting to change your mind because there's an amazing opportunity that week, or you need to switch it with another week, whatever, that's fine. But just for now, block it off. Okay. The next thing is weekly. Let's ask yourself right now, before your 2025 calendar is getting full, do you want to work 5 days a week every week? Do you want to take off every Friday or every Monday or every third Friday or whatever. Um, does it work for you to have, a schedule that's I work 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, or maybe you want something a little different. This is the time to think about it before your schedule starts to get wonky. So if you're like, I just don't want to work on Fridays, block off all your Fridays right now and don't schedule anything on Fridays. It's so much easier if you make the decision in advance before you're like, oh, well, that Friday I have this Friday I have that, and you wind up just not having Fridays off, or Mondays, whatever. One of the people I work with, she takes her birthday off every month, and I think she said her birthday is the 15th. And so every month on the 15th, she doesn't work. And she uses that time to do things like, get a haircut, schedule a dentist appointment, doctor's appointment, mammogram, all that stuff just goes on the 15th. And she knows I don't work on the 15th. And that's when I schedule all my like personal maintenance, time, oil change, update the passport, like all that stuff just happens on the 15th. So you can handle this whatever way you want, but think about it now so that you can just like exit out for next year. And then same thing here with daily. Really, really think to yourself about, does a quote normal schedule work for you? Or in 2025, do you want to be doing something different with your schedule? Maybe it works really well for you to work from, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And you like, you want to hang out with your kids during the day, or you have another job, or you have whatever. There may be you don't have to do things the way everybody else does things. So I think it's actually kind of interesting idea to be like, oh, I have early morning hours or late evening hours for people in different time zones, or for people who just are morning people and don't, it's convenient for them to have an appointment at 7 a.m. So think about what works for you in terms of your personal rhythms, in terms of the other things you have going on, and ask yourself if maybe you just want to set your working hours a little bit differently than you've been doing them this year. And again, if you're like, I always want to take a lunch hour, just block off 12 to 1 or 12:30 to 1:30 or 1 to 2 or whatever it is. Just block it off right now for all of 2025, and don't don't schedule anything during that time unless you absolutely have to. You always get to make your decisions about overriding any of this, but it's so much easier to follow through on it when you set it now, and that just is what it is for right now. um, the other thing I want you to think about when it comes to 2025 is to really think about, where is your practice or your business um, developmentally. And some of you, again, Maggie was in the book club. I'm trying to think of anybody else here. Oh, Chime, you were in the book club, and Naya, you're there sometimes. No, I'm not recognizing anybody else. Oh, Bonnie Rose, you were in the book club a little bit. But Mark Silver's book, Heart Centered Business, he talks about the stages of business. Stage one being creation, where basically you're just getting your feet under you. You are forming the business. You are working on describing what you do and having an offer that makes sense to you, and kind of knowing some other people, and just getting your feet under you. Stage two is when you are creating more stability. So by the end of stage two, you go into stage three, and that's when you really trust your business, and you trust it to make money. You know what to do, you know what not to do. You have good systems, all of that. So think about where your business is. Are you in stage one where you're like, yeah, I'm still kind of a little wobbly and I'm getting my feet under me? Are you like, yeah, I'm working on creating that predictability, but I'm not quite there yet. That's stage two. Or are you in stage three where you're like, yeah, I kind of, I'm just doing some refining work, but for the most part, I trust my business, and I'm, having money coming in and clients coming in, and everything's going smoothly. When you think about your business and where it is, and you're thinking about like, oh, what do I want to do in 2025? Acknowledge where you are, and then you can be like, oh, okay, I'm in this stage one. So I know that my theme, when I'm thinking about, like marketing and the big things I want to do, my theme is really just about getting my foundations laid. Like I want to spend my time um, connecting with other people in my community and getting really clear about my offer and that sort of thing. Versus if you're in stage two, maybe a big theme for 2025 is more like, oh, I want to get my website super in shape and really clear about my messaging. I want to get into that rhythm so that I can transition eventually into stage 3. Um, think about that as you're thinking about 2025 so you can bring that energy with you as you go. Um, and then this is the last little piece of what I do. Again, I think anything more than this is just going to get you into trouble. Not necessarily into trouble, but it's probably just going to go out the window as soon as life happens. And, who knows what catastrophe or fun thing or, change of plans is coming our way in 2025. Hopefully good things. But, life has a way of lifing. So what I like to do is, again, rather than being like on January 17th, I will do this, and on March 27th, this will happen, is to really think about things in terms of seasons. You can print out little templates or whatever. I think it's just as easy to get a piece of paper, draw it into, make 4 little sections. One for, I think of it as sort of like the winter season, spring, summer, fall. You can set it up in like quarter 1, quarter 2, whatever you want to do, but really say like, okay, here's the 4 sections of next year. Write down any, that's when you note any big vacations or trips or time off. Like I want to be really light on things in March because I'm going to the beach with my family, or, I know I have a wedding to go to, or, you know, I'm grieving something that happened this time last year, whatever it is. Um, you write down anything like that, but then you start looking at it and being like, okay, um, are there things that you want to plan? Like, for example, I want to try to do 1 class a month, or I want to, um, teach 4 workshops. So I want to try to plan 1 workshop in each of these quarters. Or if you're like me, where I'm teaching classes, I try to do classes. I kind of sketch them out so that they're not overlapping each other, and so that I can fit them in between times when it's not convenient for me to be teaching, like if I'm going out of town or have family obligations or whatever it is. So again, I'm not necessarily saying like these are the exact dates I'm going to do the class, but I'm like, oh, okay, I want to start it in sort of like March, and maybe I'll do like March and April, this class will happen. And then, June and July, this class will happen. And then September and October, this class will happen. So I'm just doing that so I can see, oh, okay, I don't want to overlap them. I don't want to overwhelm myself with whatever it is. So then you can think like, okay, this is when I'm going to, launch my new program, or teach this 1 class, or do a workshop 1 a month, or whatever it is. That way you can just loosely see what do you have coming over the next year. Again, you don't have to get super particular. You don't have to get super detailed about it, but just plotting it out so that you've kind of got a general idea of what you're aiming for over the next year. This is an add-on thing, but for those of you who are a little further along in what Mark Silver would call stages 2 or 3, if you look at your kind of weekly schedule that we plotted out in September for the fall, like right now for the fall, um, it's useful at this time of year to say to yourself, oh, okay, here's my general weekly schedule. I generally have, 10 hours a week where I could be seeing clients, assuming 50% of my time is client facing, and some of that time is for notes or whatever. So then you're like, okay, maybe I can see 7 clients in that time. I really want you to look at the numbers and say, like, if let's say I filled 5 of those spots every single week, how much money would that bring in? And is that a sustainable amount? I really want you to know this so that you can tweak some of these variables if you need to. All right. Um, just a small note that about 50% of what your business brings in is what you typically will take home. That number varies depending on your, where you live and your tax status, and if you're in a, marriage or partnership, if you have dependents, blah, blah, blah. So that's not a hard number. But for estimating purposes, that's about right. That if you make $1,000, you are putting in your personal bank account about 500. So just keep that in mind when you're running some of these numbers and trying to figure out, timing and all this stuff. Okay, so that was a lot. Um, I encourage you to marinate. I love these little marinating pickles, pickled tomatoes. I feel like it's that time of year. Um, but I recommend that you think about some of this for a little while and really envision when you're thinking about a weekly schedule, especially, or a daily schedule. What does it look like to have a daily or a weekly schedule where you have time to do the work you want to do? Like if you love writing, that's in there, and you've got time to see the clients you want to see, and you have time to do personal things that help you feel resourced and rested as well. So what does that really look like for you, not for someone else? And then asking yourself, is it possible to vary your schedule away from what you've been doing or what people say you should do? Or what's the default, this Monday through Friday situation? Is it possible for you to envision a schedule in 2025 that's a little different? Some of you know that I like to do A weeks and B weeks when it comes to clients. That means that in an A week, I see clients. In a B week, I don't see any clients. So I see more clients in an A week than I would usually otherwise, but I know that the next week I don't have any clients. And that's helpful for me for a bunch of reasons. You could have A, B, and C weeks. You could you could do whatever you want. But you don't always have to have the same schedule every week. Um, I know people who say like I just take off every in August and December. Those are slow months anyway, so I just don't see clients in those months. And I plan ahead for that money wise. And I'm just I just do admin stuff and twiddle around the house and that sort of thing. I know people who do cohorts of clients where they start clients, they run, for a couple of months, and then there's a couple weeks off, and then you start a new batch or you restart with the same clients and you keep going. So there's lots of ways that you can arrange this to give yourself the mental and emotional and physical space that works for you in the way that you want to try running your practice. The nice thing about the scheduling stuff is you can try it just for a season. You could just try this from January to March, see if you like it, and then change it again in March. That's the fun thing about running your own practice. You get to adjust as you would like to. All right, so I'm going to leave you there because I know that's a lot to think about. But I hope that's helpful. Again, just to if nothing else, if you take nothing else away from this little webinar, I hope that you will block out some I am not working these weeks or these days times in 2025 right now so that you don't schedule on those accidentally book things at those times. Like really carve it out now so that even if you stay home and do nothing and just don't leave the house, but don't see clients and don't work on your website and don't do anything, it makes such a difference in your ability to keep doing this work in the long term. So it's my biggest tip for you when it comes to 2025 planning is just carve it out now and worry about the details later. Okay. All right. I hope this was helpful. I'd love to hear more about your plans if you want to email me. I think y'all know my email, which is just info@camillefreeman.com. Otherwise, I will leave you to go. The recording of this will go out tomorrow at some point, and maybe I'll see you for the next one, which we'll do in December. We'll talk about winter planning. All right. Thank you for being here. I'll see you all later. Bye.